night slid across the land like a black mantle woven by unseen hands, now that dangers seemed to lie beyond the horizon, or so they hoped. Auren, with calloused hands and a steady gaze, tended the beach fire, its flames dancing like golden sentinels against the damp darkness. He prepared a hearty stew with a freshly caught rabbit, the warm, earthy scent rising from the pot and mingling with the cold air. Kale and Leora, having gone days without a proper meal, devoured the food with hunger, the rich flavor of rabbit warming their empty stomachs, while Caius, a playful grin lighting up his round face, exclaimed,
"Everyone eats more than I do, but I'm the only one who gains weight."
Leora didn't miss a beat, already feeling at ease with her new companions.
Then stop eating more for me. I want to gain weight.
A smile played between them, the laughter blending with the wind over the water, as if the lake itself shared in the joy of their newfound friendship. Caius chuckled, rubbing his round belly, and nudged Leora with his elbow.
"If you gain weight, you'll never outdance me. Have you seen how I tripped her in my father's chants?"
Leora rolled her eyes but smiled, tossing a piece of bread at him.
Then dance properly, chubby, or I'll leave you behind.
Caius stood up, feigning offense, and drew his harmonica with a flourish. He couldn't wait to show off his talents to his new friends, or rather, to Leora. He cleared his throat. His fingers trembled slightly. And then he began. The sound tore through the air, stumbled over its own rhythm, flowed like a river that had forgotten its way to the sea. Notes tangled, some slipping out too soon, others arriving just a little too late. And yet there was something in them, something alive. Caius began to recite.
"The wind dances with no direction, yet never ceases to blow. The road laughs at stumbling feet, yet always leads somewhere to go."
The melody swelled, stumbling less, running freer. Like a horse sensing loosened reins, the lament surged into freedom. He led the music, or perhaps it led him. Auren tapped his foot against the sand, keeping time. Encouraged by his son's strong performance, he grabbed his guitar and began to verse, following the now flawless harmony his son had woven. The sound rose, faltered, and then found its footing, as if the Lume itself had chosen that moment to listen. Caius smiled behind his harmonica, delighted to see the joy on Leora's face as she stood and skipped around him, humming to the rhythm of the song. He let go, letting his fingers run free. The world around them adjusted to their rhythm. As they repeated the final verse a few more times, Leora's voice rose, serene and enchanting, above the others, even impressing Auren, who now understood why he had connected so easily with the lake. When the last note faded into the air, silence followed. And in the silence, the echo of a new friendship, unexpectedly beautiful. The playfulness warmed the night, and for a moment, the weight of the journey vanished, as if the future had forgotten to press down on them. Kale, however, neither sang nor danced. The music seemed to irritate him, almost hurt him, for it reminded him of his mother instantly. His heart pounded with burning anxiety, a storm of questions spinning through his mind. Who was that man? What was happening to him? How did his mother had so many friends outside of Enth? His restlessness echoed through the staff, silent yet glowing with a warm, unsettling light. The sand beneath it began to smolder, nearly setting the nearby cloth ablaze. No one noticed what had almost turned into a fire, no one but Auren, who still kept his secrets. After the playful moment, panting, they sat down again to finish their dinner. Leora, her blue eyes gleaming with curiosity and already feeling at ease with her new friends, asked, gesturing with eager little hands.
"Didn't you see her? She's a tiny girl like this, chubby and kind of looks like me. She doesn't speak."
But Auren, his voice calm and steady, slipping back into a serious tone, deflected.
"We'll talk about that tomorrow. You need to regain your strength."
And it was true. The journey to Zarenth would be long, a path through shadows, and even with no enemies in sight, danger still lurked. Auren did not sleep that night, keeping watch while the young ones rested. He knew that shadows greater than those of the forest were lurking. There was much on his mind. In the middle of the night, Cale awoke with a start, his heart racing from a strange dream that echoed like a shrill alarm in his soul. Fragmented images danced in his mind, a whirlwind of pulsing lights, a young woman of unsettling beauty whom he almost recognized. Another figure, larger, unmoving like a mountain, watched with quiet curiosity. Dark waters swallowing everything, shapeless forms of creatures that made him shiver, and a voice in the distance, at first sweet, soft as a lullaby, then twisting into a deep, sibilant whisper that chilled his blood and left behind a lingering unease, even after he woke. He thought about getting up, but upon seeing Auren's silhouette standing watch by the fire, he felt a wave of security, almost like the protective embrace of a father, and allowed himself to slip back into sleep. The next morning, the group gathered to witness a majestic sunrise, golden rays rising behind the Alith hills, painting the sky in shades of peach, lavender, and gold. They finished the rabbit, savoring the last bites, and drank a dark infusion of bitter leaves and aromatic roots provided by Auren, its bitter taste dancing on the tongue like a forest secret. While Auren and Cale organized the last of their belongings near the fire, Caius took Leora's hand with a mischievous sparkle in his eyes.
Let's see if there's anything useful out there. Maybe some fruit.
He suggested, his eyes gleaming with curiosity. Leora laughed, letting him lead her between the rocks, their footsteps blending with the morning birdsong. Caius tripped on a stone and fell face-first into the sand, prompting Leora to burst into a clear, crystalline laugh, her eyes squinting from laughing so hard as she reached out a hand to help him up.
You're a mess, huh?
She teased, brushing the sand from his face.
Just to make you laugh.
Caius replied, laughing too, his face flushed red. They found a small cluster of wild berries, which they shared with a smile, the tart taste sparking more grins, like a brief sunbeam before the clouds returned. As they packed up camp, a light mist rose from Lake Eller, dancing like a silver veil beneath the sun. Auren paused, eyes narrowing.
An echo of the Laments?
He murmured. But Cale's staff pulsed faintly in response to the mist, which seemed to drift toward him, vanishing around the shaft in his hands as he held it, stunned. Caius laughed, breaking the tension.
Looks like magic, huh?
Leora touched the fresh water, a shiver running through her.
My mother used to say the lake holds voices.
Cale felt a gentle warmth spread across his skin, like his mother's embrace, but said nothing. The mist dissipated, leaving a subtle shimmer on the sand, and the group moved on, intrigued. They finished packing, the breeze carrying the scent of lake and sea. That place felt like it was made of dreams, a freshwater beach on one side and saltwater on the other, as if Auren had forgotten its own logic there. Leora felt a quiet sadness at having to leave without truly enjoying it, like a melody cut short at its sweetest part. But the long and challenging journey stretched ahead, full of unanswered questions. Auren led the way, his boots steady on the trail that climbed the dunes, followed closely by Cale, his eyes full of curiosity, barely holding himself back from asking every question swirling in his mind, at least not all at once. The elder noticed the boy's silent turmoil, and without taking his eyes off the rising sand, decided to speak.
Cale, what do you know of your story?
The boy, uneasy with answering instead of asking, let out a dissatisfied groan. Auren, his voice firm and solemn, insisted.
I need to know, Cale. I need to know everything.
Cale took a deep breath, letting memories flood his soul, images of a cozy home, the comforting sense of protection, and a childhood marked by a strangeness that set him apart. He recounted everything he could, the words coming out shaky, while Auren listened in silence, the wind whispering between them. When Kale reached the part about the attack on Venth, his voice faltered. His eyes, rebellious against tears, spilled over as he described a painful loss. His voice broke on the morning he found Leora. Feeling her heart ache for him, she quickened her pace, her cold hands seeking his, and took over the story with a voice soft as a breeze, weaving the events up to the lake's edge. The elder stopped at the top of the dunes, the wind tugging at his cloak, and watched Leora's delicate gestures as she recounted the fight against the black-armored soldiers. His expression twisted, not from the story itself, but from a hidden weight neither of them could understand.
Thank you for the effort to tell me everything, Kale. And you too, Leora,
he said, his voice heavy with gravity.
I need to know what happened so I can plan our next steps. I won't reveal everything just yet, but know this. We are in grave danger, and we may be the last line of defense against a force that threatens all beings in this land. Kale, you must understand, if something happens to me or to any of us, you must run. Make it to Zarenth and find Sithra. Is that understood?
Kale was seized by a cold shock. He wiped away his tears with the sleeve of his shirt, feeling the staff grow heavier in his hands, as if it bore the weight of the world. Still, he nodded, too drained to protest.
Kale, I need you to understand this. It's more important than anything.
Auren insisted, his eyes locked onto Kale's.
Say you understand.
The elder's pressure made him uneasy. He would never abandon Leora to danger. She was his last anchor to home, but the sharp tone stole his voice, and he muttered,
Yes, sir.
Forced through clenched teeth.
Good.
Auren continued, his gaze distant, burdened with ancient secrets, as if the wind carried whispers from a forgotten past.
I'm going to tell you a bit about your mother's story, something I believe you don't yet know.
Resuming their walk, their boots pressed firmly into the dune's sand, and the fresh morning air carried a faint scent of herbs. Kale, now close on the elder's heels, absorbed every word with a pounding heart, his eyes gleaming with anticipation.
When we were just a little older than you are now, we joined the Guardians of the Lume.
Auren began, his deep voice echoing like a distant drum, resonating across the dunes as a prelude to memories.
It was a different time. The world pulsed with vivid colors, fields gleamed with yellow flowers that danced in the wind, and the silver reflected endless skies, its crystalline waters singing in the sunlight. But your mother, Lysara, outshone even the Lume with her presence, a light that warmed even the hardest of hearts. You see, she was a herald of Era, a rarity beyond compare, a gift few can claim, a calling that echoes only once each generation. I believe she taught you about Era?
Kale thought of his father as he listened to Auren.
Your mother is the light that guides us, Kale. Pay attention to what she says.
But the boy, eager for the rest of the story, replied with a quick yes, his voice trembling with held-back emotion, his eyes locked on the elder. Leora opened her mouth to protest. She knew nothing about Era, barely anything about the primordials, but she held her tongue, honoring her friend's moment. Auren continued.
Then you know that Era has only one representative in Auren per generation, unlike the other primordials, who may have dozens or more. But Lysara, beyond that singular honor, was a woman of immense intelligence, as you must have noticed during your time with her.
Kale nodded awkwardly, his face flushing as he silently admitted that he had never truly paid attention to his mother's teachings. The weight of guilt mingled with the wind tugging at his tattered clothes.
Lysara had a remarkable gift.
Auren continued, his eyes drifting into memory, as if he could see Era's reflection in the dunes, the shimmer of a past that would never return.
In the handling of Lume, she danced with the notes as if the air itself sang beneath her fingers, each chord a caress that made the halls of Silmouth tremble. Her charisma wrapped around everyone nearby, a smile that disarmed even the sternest, and her green-hued gaze seemed to see beyond the visible. But her true talent lay in uncovering things no one else wanted, or dared, to see. And that became the great catalyst for a cascade of events, a river of change that swept through destinies, shaped powers, and brought us here, to this very moment, beneath this sky laden with promises and peril.
The wind rose over the dunes, carrying a distant echo that sounded like a forgotten chant. Auren paused for a moment. His half-closed eyes seemed to pierce through time, the lines of his face deepening with memory.
"Let me take you back,"
he murmured, his voice softening like a lament.
"to the days when Lysara and I were young, when the world still sang at her touch."
His mind drifted backward, and the dunes seemed to dissolve into mist, revealing a vibrant past where Auren's fields shimmered, and the silver reflected the smiling face of a young Lysara, her fingers tracing invisible melodies in the air, as if discovering strings woven into the very wind.
"It was there,"
Auren began, his voice now heavy with nostalgia.
"on the shores of Silmouth, about 25 years ago, that everything began."